I'm seeing reporting now. Oh, the Chicago media. Insert your own joke there. Parents are apparently scrambling with respect to educational options for their kids, at least those parents whose kids were on scholarship thanks to the tax credit scholarship program. But since Governor Pritzker and the political ruling class in Illinois has ended that program, now parents are scrambling. Boy, who could have foreseen that?
Yeah, well, think about how parents are scrambling here in the city of Chicago, where Mayor Brandon Johnson, who less than a year ago was a paid organizer for the Chicago Teachers Union, the city now trying to close the so-called selective enrollment schools in Chicago.
Yes, right,
a movement is underway. I mean, so those parents are scrambling as well. This is a crazy, crazy time we live in.
Anything that presents competition to the government school system must be extinguished. There's no question. Also, we have schools closing. Elgin Academy, 185 years. St. Francis of Rome and Cicero. And some Catholic schools that have interesting partnerships to keep the doors open. One of them profiled on Fox Chicago. Holy Family. The school is Home Square neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. West Side.
You know, you got to be creative when you don't have arch support, when you don't have your tax credit scholarship program.
And you have a mayor and a governor who are sitting back and letting it happen. No sensitivity whatsoever to those people, most of whom voted for these people.
And
it's mind-boggling.
Right. And most of whom, and the people they voted for, most of whom send their kids to private school.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, enter the Hooters girls, Charles. Hooters and Holy Family.
Well, good morning. It's the Wings for the Kids program, and what a boost it gives the kids here at Holy Family Ministry School. It helps pay for classroom supplies, tuition, technical supplies, and more. All you have to do is eat wings any Tuesday this month, and a third of the profits go to the school. It was started back in the 90s, and they're closing in on $1 million. And nobody knows that better than the CEO, who I'm going to introduce you to now, of Holy Family Ministries. This is Cheryl Collins, and she is standing alongside Kevin Scott, who's a 6th grader. But let me start with you, Ms. Collins, and tell me what kind of a boost that close to $1 million has made here.
Oh, you have no idea. It's just been amazing. Every year we get a check from Hooters, which allows us to buy technology tools for the students, books and textbooks, even opportunities for field trips for the children. Oh, wow. So we're really grateful for this partnership.
And it allows guys to go to Hooters and say, honey, I'm doing it for the kids.
Hooters. Hooters and Holy Family.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Whoa.
Yeah, well, Kevin is one of the lucky 6th graders who got to interact with the Hooters girls because they were on site for this little media pop. Take a listen.
Right. And it also, I see that the Hooters girls come by and interact with the kids. Mm-hmm. I heard about the reading program. What a nice thing, huh?
It's excellent. They come in and they volunteer for Read Across America Day. They come in and volunteer throughout the year for various events. They've even come to judge science fairs for our kids. So it's great having them here, and the children just love them when they're present.
Hey, man,
I bet. Do they come in uniform?
Hey, man, where did you get that audio from?
It's Fox Chicago. It's a Fox Chicago story.
Oh, my God. Oh, man.
I mean, by the way, I just have a question. On the reading program, are the Holy Family 6th graders teaching the Hooters girls to read, or is it the other way around? Lucky 6th grader Kevin Scott was asked for his comments. He's a little shy, but very savvy in terms of how he handled this.
Kevin, what do you think of this program? The Hooters girls come and help you out with your reading and whatnot?
I think that it is really good how the Hooters girls come and support us and how helping us with our education and things like that and all the money that they have donated.
Have you ever tried a Hooters chicken wing?
No.
Oh, well, we have to change that. Excuse me, ladies. Can you bring some wings? No, they actually do have a little wing party with the teachers. Is that right?
Yeah, every Christmas they supply our food for our Christmas our Christmas party for our staff, and even throughout the year, if we ask for anything, they're always there to help us. It really boosts them around for the team to have Hooters food, because who doesn't like a chicken wing?
Hey man, this is an archdiocese school.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yes. 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 Say a prayer for the Chicago Archdiocese. And I'm persuaded for the Hooters philanthropy. I mean, hey, somebody's stepping in. If you're not going to get it from your elected officials. For more on this topic, I know it's a bit of a strange segue, I grant you that, but I had to get that story in just because here's where things are at in Chicago. We're pleased to be joined by Quisha King. She's a homeschool mom of 2 daughters. She's the founder of the Mass Exodus movement that aims to get children into better learning environments. She's also the host of the eponymous Quisha King Show. Quisha King, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So have you been in contact with Hooters at all to develop your Mass Exodus movement program?
They did not make the list of one of our resources.
All right. Well, tell us. You're a homeschool mom of 2 daughters. There had to be a moment where you decided to be a homeschool mom. I'm guessing, and I don't know if that was. Well, I do know, but that was not because you had a disposition against government schools at the outset of your kids' education. It was because of something that occurred. Yes.
Correct. So I started seeing all the critical race theory and the gender ideology in the schools, and the tipping point for me was when the government told parents that we were domestic terrorists and actually had a threat tag, an FBI threat tag against us, and it just made me realize, oh my goodness, they really don't want us to protect our children. And so that was the straw for me, and I said, no more. I pulled my children out. And they have been thriving so wonderfully. It's just been incredible.
How old, sorry to interrupt, but how old were your kids when that happened? You made the decision?
15 and 13.
Okay.
Yes. My oldest was 15. Yeah.
And then so go on. So they've been thriving and go on. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness. They have, they're self-motivated to learn now. They've become extremely, just much more responsible, much more accountable. And that just comes with, things that I had already was instilling into them prior to this. But, just that last bit of getting them out of these, I call them indoctrination camps, pulling them out of these places, it just brought my children back to themselves. It was amazing. And the bond that we have now, it's just been incredible. And so, I know that there are parents who can't pull their children out, and there are, states that don't have the option of, a school choice or vouchers and things like that. So I created a course for parents so they can learn how to stop the indoctrination and get their children back to them while they are still in these schools.
Miss King, this is Charles Thomas. I got a question. How do you get your message out? Can you talk about the challenges you have in getting your message to people, particularly in a place like Chicago, to tell them that school choice is not the monstrosity that CTU says it is?
It's really tough because most parents who don't see it right away, they think, and this is all over, they think it has, like they'll hear something about critical race theory or, a DEI program or a child's gender being hidden from their parents, and they'll think it happened in that one time at that one place, but it's not really, it's just an isolated incident. So most parents struggle with understanding that these government schools are connected with federal government programs, and many times, and there are local programs and grants and contractors that come in to push this agenda, and they don't understand that it has been a mass movement for quite some time now. And the hardest thing about it is getting them to understand that the child, their own child, is not coming home and telling them these things because they don't even have the words to articulate it. You know, it is so woven, masterfully woven into curriculum, masterfully just common acceptance that your child, they don't even recognize that it's something wrong. They've been seeding this, you know, for so long. And they, you know, most kids don't even know to come home and say, Mom and Dad, this was weird. You know, so by the time a parent actually finds out about it, it's a lot of, you know, it can be too late, you know, many times. So it is tough.
Yeah, I know I have a problem believing that parents don't want control of what their kids are learning. I got to believe that, hey, if you have school choice, you've got control again. We're restoring control to you. Don't you want that? And they sort of look at you with a blank look on their face as though.
Yeah. You know what's fascinating to me? So I listen to a lot of, you know, teacher behind the scenes stuff, and you'll hear teachers in the classroom say, you know, your parents are, you know, they're old and outdated, they're traditional, you know, like listen to us like we're the experts. And then parents turn around and say, listen to your teacher. So here we have parents saying, listen to your teacher. In the classroom, the child is being told not to listen to their parents. And so when parents are like, they're trying to understand why they are struggling to connect with their children, why they are struggling to, you know, for their child to listen to them and their child to, you know, continue on with the values that they have instilled within them, and they find them going astray. And it's, you know, many times a lot of the messaging that we are, the confusion, communication that we're having with our children because parents don't really understand the system that they're sending their children to. There's still a romanticized view of the mass compulsory schooling system, and we need to recognize it for what it is. And that is another difficult part to get parents to understand.
That is such an important point. I mean, that is so 100% on the mark that they just have the romanticized view. That's a great way to describe it. And so they almost can't bring themselves to even look. I hope this is, like you were saying, the story I heard somewhere else. Well, that's not going on in my school. And you know what? If it is, I refuse to look at it because I can't bring myself to then take the necessary steps if it is going on in my school. Let me give you an example of this too, just in terms of, you talk about the system they don't know what they're dealing with and the mentality of the system's overlords. They don't appreciate what they're dealing with. This is in the state of Indiana. This is legislation that was sponsored by a Democrat from Gary, Indiana. Now, this isn't going to go anywhere because of the political distribution of power in Indiana state government, but it still gives you an insight into the thinking here. This kind of stuff does go somewhere in places like Chicago and Illinois and other states that are governed by the teachers' unions effectively. This is legislation from Vernon Smith, who's a Democrat state rep in Indiana. An employee or staff member of a school or third-party vendor used by a school to provide instruction may not provide to a student in kindergarten through K through 12 in kindergarten through grade 12 concerning the following. Christopher Columbus. A president of the United States who owned an enslaved person. That's a quarter of our presidents, by the way, roughly 12 out of 46. Instruction concerning a person described in these earlier sections. The institution of slavery, the harmful effects of colonialism, or the decimation of indigenous populations throughout the world. May not provide instruction. An employee or staff member of school, third-party vendor, you have to hew to this curriculum that we set up. You may not address any of these topics other than the way it has been dictated to you by who? By the teachers' unions and the politicians they own. This is what you're actually dealing with in these K through 12 government systems, not just the big urban centers, but also these suburban districts too that are supposed to be so different than the schools in the urban centers, and they're not.
That is wild to me. That's literally keeping education from children. Like that's literally what you're supposed to be doing. Like that's where your tax dollars are going, to educate the children. They're saying they're blatantly saying we're not going to educate the children, and we want you to be okay with that. They can't get. I don't think the schooling system can get more blatant and direct about what they believe and what they want. I mean, they've laid it out pretty clearly. I don't know. They're not hiding it. They are saying we are going to push the gender ideology. We're going to, keep this information from parents. They're saying we're going to push this idea that, we're going to judge you by what you look like. So if you're black, you fit in this box. And, despite your history, your family history or whatever, we are telling you exactly what we believe America is and what the history is. And if we don't think that this information is pertinent according to our standards by the experts, we will keep this from your child. I mean, how are children supposed to learn with only one narrative, one view, but there's nothing to compare that to? This is mind-blowing to me. Like that is insanity. It's the total opposite of education.
You've got this Parents Guide to Stop Indoctrination workshop that you do, and obviously you've got your show and this mass exodus movement. As you're helping parents who come to recognize what's going on and say, I need to make a decision like you made, Quisha King, and then they make that decision, I assume you stay in touch with them. I've seen some of the testimonials on your website. What is the most common pitfall or the most common challenge you hear from parents who made the decision that you made for your kids?
Probably parents thinking that they can't do it, that they don't have the skills to teach their own children. And, that is not true. I am a Christian, and I do believe that God has given us, as parents, when we have the gift of children, we also come with the ability to teach our own children. You really do. We've just, again, become romanticized with the system in thinking that them in a certain way. No, we don't have to teach them in that way. Children can learn. Children are not one, they can learn in many different ways, and most children benefit from, a more customized learning environment. And schools is a one-size-fits-all, and so many kids fall through the cracks, and they end up hating school, and then we associate schooling with education, and they're just two totally different things. But that's the main thing that parents feel like they can't do it, and I'm here to tell you that you can. You absolutely can.
She is Quisha King, homeschool mom of two daughters, founder of the Mass Exodus movement that aims to get children into better learning environments, host of the eponymous Quisha King Show, and again, she has the Parents Guide to Stop Indoctrination workshop that you should check out. Quisha, where can people get more information about that and your Mass Exodus movement project?
Yes, they go to massexodusmovement.com. It's the first link there. Sign up. We have a workshop coming up on the 15th, February 15th. So I'm excited about it.
Very good. Quisha King, thanks so much for joining us. Pleasure. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And she joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service